this gets back to like the debate, right? Which is, it's not just politically. Like I had a lot of my friends that are saying, Sean, I know you want Biden to stay in the race. They believe that there's a problem, right? They're like, we can't wait. Like our enemies are looking at this right now and watching this president, right? And they're like, Sean, I know you keep looking at it through a political lens. We're looking at it through a national security lens. And I agree with you on this as well, which is if you're, this is a 20-year-old kid that was in the shooting club, right? Can you imagine if you actually had your stuff together and could actually pose a threat? So let me just ask you this, because you brought up something that I want to touch on, which is, I don't mean to get all wound down conspiracy theories, but it seems odd to me that a 20-year-old who is described a little bit as a loner or whatever and is making some political contributions has no social media presence, didn't like so far, and his phone is locked and they're like, we have to fly it to Quantico to break it. Like, okay, who is this kid? Because I'm sorry, like, I don't know a 20-year-old that's not on some kind of social media. If you're going to go kill or try to kill the leading candidate for president, there's something that doesn't smell right about this whole thing. And
I'm right there with you.
And then Mark Halperin this morning on our morning meeting call, which everybody can get on at 8:30 in the morning. If you just go to the YouTube channel, we're going to do this for the next couple of weeks, brings up the fact that, and I didn't even think of this, I'll hat tip Mark Halperin, says, it's standard operating procedure for the Secret Service to put the head down of the protectee, right? You don't know if there's more shooters. There's so many things about this that don't seem right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's where my brain immediately goes. Like Mock and I went back and forth this morning. She's like, I think it's just ineptness. And I'm like, I don't know. I have questions. I have so many questions. All the ones that you just raised. We don't know a lot about this guy. It's kind of like we don't know about the Nashville Manifesto chick.
Right.
There's why is it that some things are suppressed, and then when other people engage in, a horrible shooting, we know everything about that person?
That's it. No, I
don't get it.
Bingo. That's what I'm saying. It's like I'll keep Saturday night. I was like, there's something here, because normally when it's something against the right, when the guy's got like a garage full of guns and he's a right-wing kook, they're like, and in 8th grade, he wrote this, and here's a drawing in 2nd grade when he didn't share his Cheerios. And this guy suddenly has nothing that we know about him. And everybody's like, Biden, again, it was like, we don't know anything about him. And I'm like, and we're sending his phone. What kind of phone does this guy have that you can't unlock it? I guarantee you his password is password.
Well, they have his face, they could use his face, even if it's no longer living. They have his face. Just shove it in there and use this face recognition. Open the phone.
I know they didn't ask us. This is the thing. Why don't they do that? Because I have facial recognition for my iPhone. I mean, if you're dead, it still works. So do that.
Right, but
this is not hard.
That's why, there's something where it's like, oh, we're sending it to Quantico. He's got no footprint. I mean, maybe I watch too much TV, and I actually don't watch that much, but I'm like, what is going on where this is like the Rubik's Cube issue, where gosh, we can't get it together. But on every aspect, how did he get up there? Why did this get missed? Where's his social media profile? How come it's so hard to unlock his phone? I mean, it's almost like they're doing everything they can. And then they get up and do this press conference about Milwaukee security as if they're like, oh, something else happened? What was that? What happened in Pennsylvania?
And then they said Milwaukee security is not being altered in any way in light of what happened this weekend.
What in the world?
Well, it already was a national security event. So I think again, they're not doing a good job. If I were them, I would have said, look, we were already at the highest levels for this. It's designated as a national security event. Therefore, we've been at the highest level already. But they're not reassuring people right now that this is a one-off. And I agree with Daisy. I mean, if I'm an outside person who wanted to do harm, I think to myself, this isn't that hard.
Right. This isn't.
Or even if you're a kook, even if you're another kook and you think to yourself, well, I could do that too. Da 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 da. I mean, this is not to me, this did not inspire confidence that this is going to get stopped.
No confidence at all. None at all. And then listen, you add to the mix the fact that, and listen, we are women. Okay. We are all for women being in the workplace.
Daisy, do you know how to define that? Because I think you're throwing these terms out. You're just throwing these terms out. Next thing you know, your pronouns are coming.
I have the correct chromosomes to be a woman. I promise you. But this,
you're one of them science people.
But we love women in the workplace. But when I saw some of the complete just lack of competence of some of the like, let me put my sunglasses on, and then screaming, where are we going, what are we doing? They looked like idiots, some of these women, and they make women look bad. And I had a conversation with my 14-year-old daughter this weekend about how, listen, if you're going to be in the workplace, if you're going to try to be equal with men, be able to do the job or don't do the job. Because
why women who are 5'5" or less are assigned to be Trump's physical protecting team makes zero sense.
It's ridiculous.
Like the people that are have them go protect Jill Biden. That's fine. But like, there's, the only reason we have that iconic photo is thanks to the girl that's 5'2" that was like, way too short for really Trump's head not to like appear above her. So I guess in one respect, it's good that she was there. But I mean, come on, there's no way that she could actually physically protect him. And there were like 3 women that were assigned to his physical protection. That makes no sense. He is a giant of a man.
No, but can I just this real quick? I want to just, is your issue gender or size?
Size.
It's
and a little gender. A little bit of gender.
I mean, it's not really, because listen, if there was like a 6'4" chick, 6'3", 6'4" chick who was, badass and could do it, I'm all for it.
Right.
If you can do the job, do the job.
Okay, good.
Like if you can find your holster, Sean, that's great.
By the way,
good. You got wonderful.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, to me, this was a size issue, not a gender issue. But
I
asked a very senior, I told him I would keep this tight. Someone very senior within the law enforcement community about this incident, because I got a lot of questions about it. I knew this would come up. And the answer that they gave me, I'll keep them gender neutral, was this is a training issue, in the sense that they said at the end of the day, in the most stressful situations, you revert to your training. And that the basics of training for the Secret Service are removing and holstering your weapon. And if you have trouble doing that, that speaks to a larger issue, which is training and the standards that and I also would argue that there seemed to be a bit of a physical issue. Again, not necessarily a gender thing, but just, if people can't, at the highest levels of that agency, need to have the ability, the size, the training to protect the people that they're covering. And that did not inspire confidence. But I would argue that this is more of a training and standards issue than it is any kind of gender issue.
And by standards, I think that they've lowered them for women. And it's like,
I think they've lowered them all around. I got to be honest with you. And I see this throughout government, where people that previously, think about what they're doing in the military. They keep
in the military
doing stuff down, but they're doing this throughout government. And frankly, it's not just that. Even in the private sector, some of the places that I've been to, I'm like, this person can't, open a door, and we're asking them to be the man, whatever. Let me ask you about this. You brought up, Mock, I think it was you that brought up the president's reaction because of the size of the agents. What did you think of the reaction that Trump exhibited moments after that?
Extraordinary. I mean, like, undescribable. And there aren't enough superlatives to even assign to it. It was like his natural instinct was to be a badass. And there's that was leadership. And there's no way that all the people that are trying to say this was staged and that like he capitalized on it being staged, that just makes me sick to my stomach. What we saw was a profile in courage, period.
I don't care who you are. And I'm being serious when I say this. When a car backfires, I think most people freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, right? Yep. The idea that something, I don't care what it was, buzzed your ear to make it, take it down to the most basic things. Oh, who cares? If you have that happen to you and your instinct is to get up and go, let's go, let's fight. I don't know that I got that in me, and I'll be honest, and I don't think most people do. And I think, I told people this was so prophetic. There's a Time magazine story that was about Laura Trump the other day, and she actually posted it because she liked it. Within the profile, there's a story about Laura Trump right before she marries Eric. She gets thrown off a horse, breaks both of her wrists, and chooses not to be casted because, for the wedding, because she doesn't want to be photographed like that. And Trump is in the article alleged to have said she's a tough cookie. This is his view. He always thinks about the imagery. And I thought about that night. This is the same guy. His immediate reaction is toughness, strength. That being said, Daisy, I want to pivot to Biden's reaction. What did you think about how he reacted to the situation, given the hand that he was dealt?
It was awful. I
Why?
mean, one of the first things that he said was political violence. I'm probably not getting this right, but one of the first I remember him saying that political violence is not appropriate. What happened to Trump was not appropriate. That's something that I would say to my kid about something that she did that, like, listen, your behavior is not appropriate. That's not how you react to an assassination attempt, saying that's not appropriate. Like he was lukewarm and he was milquetoast, and he's just weak and pathetic, which is how he is in every situation.
Okay, write 2 lines for me. If Biden's team called and said, we're stuck and we need you, Daisy, to tell us how do we communicate this effectively, what are the 2 or 3 lines that he should have led with?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, first of all, he should have said this is completely unacceptable. And if he was going to talk about lowering the temperature, he should have included himself. He should have said, I'm included in that as well.
Thank you for saying that, because I think where he missed the mark and fell short was including himself and saying, I have been guilty of it too. And it's something that the left and the media are so quick to point out with the right. Why aren't they saying this? Why isn't President Trump taking responsibility? I mean, you think back to Charlottesville, which is why President Biden apparently ran for president to begin with. They're quick to point the finger at everyone else and saying that everyone on the right needs to apologize and atone for their comments.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Yet he kept talking about we need to do this and not saying, and that includes me as well. I shouldn't have said bullseye on Trump, put a target on Trump. He's a threat to democracy. After a while, if your theme is that President Trump caused January 6th, President Trump incited all of this stuff, then aren't you equally as guilty of inciting things?
Yeah. Well, and they're in a pickle now because this has been their messaging all along. Threat to democracy, existential threat, the worst thing that's ever happened to America. And now in the next breath, they're saying, oh, but thoughts and prayers. So glad he's okay. Yeah. Why?
Yeah, but you know what,
Mock,
here's the thing.
An existential threat is okay.
You notice how they're getting out of the pickle? Is they're saying, we don't know anything about the shooter's motives. Right. It could be he could have done this for a variety of reasons. Maybe Jodie Foster he wanted to, a la Reagan. Like they're couching this by saying, we're not going to group ourselves in with this because, well, gosh, we don't know the motives yet. So let's not jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
Well, they can do that all they want, but the fact remains that going forward, they can no longer use that very extreme rhetoric without being called to the mat on it.
Right. He's the existential threat to democracy. Like he needs to be taken out, which is what they've done. I mean, they have literally dehumanized this man for almost a decade. That's what they've done. They've made him not human, which is why Melania's response was, it was awesome. She's so classy and graceful and wonderful. And she basically said, my husband is a human being. He's a wonderful human being. And you guys have never recognized him as being so. And so it was just awesome. And I think that is, it's making it turn. So people on the left are having to go, oh my God, he is human. I guess we have to start treating him like a human. Damn.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.